Alright, here is the Liberty Bell. I've never seen the crowd so small for this, but it's early in the morning. It's really awesome. I love visiting it. In the background you can see Independence Hall, where they did the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. We're going to be visiting that very, very shortly. Let me zoom in here so you can see the crack. Again, they're not exactly sure when the crack happened, but that sometimes happens with a bell. It's been used on many different occasions and is an international symbol for liberty for people around the world. Alright, I'm standing here in front of one of the most special buildings in all of the United States. This is the Pennsylvania State House, but it's also frequently more commonly called Independence Hall. It's where, back in 1776, the Continental Congress did sign and declare the United States independent from Great Britain. And then later on, in the summer of 1787, this is where they held the meetings, the convention of the states, to try to come up with a new and better government, because the Articles of Confederation were not working. When you look over here, there are branches or wings to it. We'll be going over there in just a moment to go through security and to get into the building, and over there as well. And then to give you some perspective, the Liberty Bell is located right in there. We just saw that just a little while ago. And then a little further over here is the Independence Visitor Center, and down even further you have the National Constitution Center, which I've only been in one time, but it is quite an amazing place to visit. So again, right over here across the street from Independence Hall, you have the Liberty Bell that is housed in there. It was really cool to visit that. And then down the mall, I guess you could call it, the walkway or the greenery, is the National Constitution Center. This is one of my most favorite rooms of anywhere I've ever been. This is the room in the Pennsylvania State House where they worked on the Declaration of Independence and where they worked on the Constitution of the United States of America. We just had a really good guide explain some things that went on in here. Some things I didn't realize was the northern states tended to sit on the north side of the room right here. The middle states sat here kind of in the back on this side, and the southern states tended to sit over there, which is the south side of the building. This is the sunrise chair. During the Constitutional Convention, when Ben Franklin was here, he contemplated whether or not it was a rising sun or a setting sun, and he decided that it was a rising sun because it is the beginning of the country, and our country has a new start, and we're going to have great things happen. Again, this is a very, very special room. Alright, I just came out of Independence Hall. Really enjoyed the gentleman's presentation, the tour guide. He did a fantastic job. We are on the back side of it. I filmed earlier from the front. Now we're on the back side. It's a little shadier and nicer here. But what just amazes me is how they were able to put that Constitution together in a relatively short amount of time through a hot summer, no air conditioning, windows and doors closed to keep their privacy. Just amazingly cool. We were able to go into a room right next to Constitution Hall. This is called Congress Hall. It was used as the congressional building during the 1790s when Philadelphia was the capital before it was moved to Washington. This room here served as the House of Representatives. And I believe the gentleman said the original Congress, when they met here, had 65 members. Cool. All right, we're still are in Congress Hall. We came upstairs to where the Senate met in the 1790s. That is where the President of the Senate sat, which is, of course, the Vice President of the United States. It's a smaller room, but it's a little bit more grander. A little fancier. Well, senators like to think they're a little special there. And then you really can't see it from here, but let me flip it. Just above me, there is a balcony, just like they have downstairs for people to watch. They have one up here as well. We came outside of Congress Hall, and there was a fife and drum corps playing. They're kind of cool to listen to. Walked up a little closer to see them. All right, we've moved down the Independence area, and we're about to go into the National Constitution Center. I was here once about 15 years ago. It's an amazing place. Looking forward to going back in. It says that Abraham Lincoln stood here when he raised the flag on Independence Hall, February 22nd, 1861. He would not quite have been president yet. He would have become president on March the 4th, but he did stop here on his way to DC. All right, in the Great Hall of the National Constitution Center, when you come in, they have a really cool display of all the different flags of the 50 states. And they are in the order that they did enjoy. So if you go down here and count up all 50 of them, you can look down and see all the way down to Hawaii, which is the last one. There's my home state of Idaho right there in the middle, and Utah right close by. All right, we just came out of a theater performance where they did a very nice presentation on the importance of the Constitution and why it's such a valuable document. We're now going to go through the exhibits and see what they've got. I really like this display on the Electoral College. It does a great job of explaining it, and also a few times in the past where we've had the popular vote winner not win the Electoral College, which has happened before. Pretty good explanation right here. You can see how states like California, Texas, Florida, New York have the highest, and then Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, they're also up there pretty high as well. This is a really great model showing the design of the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. It shows the two branches of Congress on both sides, the House and the Senate. Very cool model. On this part of the model, it shows what the east side, I call it the back side of the White House, or excuse me, of the Capitol building looks like. Most presidents, when they take the oath of office, do take it on the other side where I filmed first. And then if you just pan over here slightly, they have a really cool model of the White House. This is, I believe, the north portico, the north side, because there is not a front or a back side to the White House. On the right would be the West Wing. That's where the president's offices are. Let me just pan around here just a little bit, and you can take a look at the south side of the White House. Again, they do not refer to it as having a front or a back side. It's just different porticos. And then for our third branch of government, we have the Supreme Court building, which, if I lift up here a little bit, extends quite a ways back. You usually mainly just see the front side of it. It's the most famous part. But that is where the 9 justices of the Supreme Court do sit, where they do make some very crucial decisions for the country. This is Signers Hall, where they have replicas of several of the people who attended the Constitutional Convention, and they tried to get them as close to life-size as possible. Here's the statue representing George Washington, And then James Madison, again referred to as the father of the Constitution. Here we see Alexander Hamilton, even though he was not a president, very famous individual. Did a lot for the early years of the country. The quote says, "I do not conceive that we are more inspired, have more wisdom, or possess more virtue than those who will come after us. The power under the Constitution will always be with the people." And that statement was from George Washington. Great, great statement.